Good evening, Brockton residents. This is Mayor Sullivan, and we're joined tonight by the Brockton School Committee. Time having arrived, I'm going to declare the Brockton School Committee open. And since we're doing Zoom, I have to read in the following into the record. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and state of emergency, on March 12, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, which is Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. Pursuant to the order, public bodies are temporarily relieved from the open meeting law's requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be held and will be accessible to the public via Brockton Community Access, Brockton Public Schools website, which is www.bpsma.org, YouTube, and Comcast Channel 12. The public can access this meeting via the following link, www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. I will now take a roll call vote relative to the revised open meeting law. Chair says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak. Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Minicello.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That passes in the affirmative. I'll now take a roll call vote relative to establishing a quorum. The chair says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak. Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Minicello.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Excellent. We have a quorum. I will now rise and salute our American flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic
from which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty,
Liberty
and
justice for all.
for all.
Thank you, everybody. We have a pretty lengthy agenda tonight, and I do want to thank everybody that's here tonight. In terms of agenda item number one, we've called the meeting to order, we've established a quorum, and we've saluted our American flag. Article 2 of the agenda is the consent agenda, which is subsection A, B, C, D, F, G. Are there any school committee members that would like to take any of these separately, or would we take them collectively?
Mayor,
Mr. D'Agostino.
I'd like to take items B, C, and D.
The form of a motion. Is there a second on the motion, please?
Second.
So second on the motion. I'll just do a quick roll call vote. Chair says yes. D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak. Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Minicello.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
B, C, and D. Thank you, Tim. B, C, and D will be taken out. Now the matter comes before us relative to A, E, F, and G. Is there any
Motion
comment?
to approve items A, E, F, and G as written.
Second.
It's a motion made by Mr. Sullivan, properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan to take A, E, F, and G collectively and accept them. The chair says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak. Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Minicello.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you very much. A, E, F, and G has been affirmed unanimously. We will now go to Mr. D'Agostino. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll start with item B, which is the minutes of the public hearing on the school budget. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, Section 38N, we are required to, and as such, held a public hearing on the budget. That was done on Tuesday, June 2nd at 5:45 p.m. The purpose of this meeting is to open for public comment on the budget as proposed. We did have one member of the public who joined us and did comment, and I'll just summarize some of the comments. Was that she had concerns regarding students not scoring well on MCAS from 2019 achievement report available on the DESE website. She asked us to consider new innovative ways to work with teachers and students to improve our scores and look at better resources. Further raised a concern about having more guidance counselors available as well. Then the meeting, that was the only member of the public who asked to comment. And so the hearing was closed at 5:55 p.m. On the next item, item C. All right. Item C is the June 2nd Finance Subcommittee meeting. This meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Via Zoom conference. And again, I'll summarize the items and the content of that meeting. Agenda item number 1 was the FY 2020 budget. Mr. Petronio discussed the final preparations to the 2020 budget. He discussed how he is evaluating transportation payments and transportation vendors and wanting to hold off on those negotiations and get information regarding their ongoing costs such as insurance, but also wanted to return as much money as possible to the city. He further discussed that all accounts are being reviewed to preserve as much funding that we currently have in those accounts as possible. He also let us know that so far the district has spent $500,000 on COVID-19 costs in this current budget FY 2020. These COVID-19 costs would be submitted to the county for full reimbursement. Then on agenda item number 2, the FY 2021 budget, we had with us the city CFO, Troy Clarkson, and the superintendent acknowledged him and Aldo and the mayor for working together. And it really was a team effort. We have no Chapter 70 commitment yet. So it took a lot of discussion to be able to come up with a budget. Mr. Petronio confirmed that as of that meeting, we still did not have a Chapter 70 number from the state. All we know is that the state will be looking at cuts in the 0 to 20% range. We expect a lower percent of that to be on the school portion, but a higher to be on the city side of the budget. Mr. Clarkson discussed the school funding and challenges that it brings to the city. And let's see, during all the discussions and deliberations, the preservation of jobs on both the city and school side has been the priority. Let's see. Just that we needed to be conservative in our estimates. Also that there was potential for as much as a 20% reduction in the UGGA aid, which is unrestricted general government aid. Some people know that as the lottery aid. So that's on the city side. So considering that, we expected, basically we went with on the city a 20% reduction to UGGA and 5% on Chapter 70. Leadership worked together to try and find ways to reduce that reduction, which was passed at a 2% reduction, so that we could preserve as many jobs as possible and reduce the number of required reduction in force notices. Separate orders to transfer $3.5 million to stabilization that we intend to back out into the FY 2021 budget were discussed as well. It was also discussed, so overall it was about $166 million that was budgeted. This is not a level fund budget from last year, but hopefully, it was discussed that this isn't the final number, and as better numbers come in from the state, we'll be able to make different decisions to bring some things back. And again, both Mr. Minicello and I commented and reiterated that this is a starting point. And there were other questions and comment from the mayor and from Mr. Petronio and the superintendent about the process. And let's see. Then under new business, there was no new business. The meeting adjourned at 5:33 p.m. And the budget was approved by the finance subcommittee to be moved forward to the full subcommittee. My last item D, is the minutes of the finance subcommittee meeting from May 27th of 2020. The meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. Agenda item number 1 was an early retirement incentive that was presented to the committee and approved. We discussed the past retirement incentives that had been offered, and the school committee approved to offer, let's see, it was 20,000, an early retirement incentive of $20,000 to teachers, and then $15,000 to other members or to other bargaining units such as paraprofessionals. And then in the past, and just like in the past, non-union staff would be negotiated by the superintendent. There was comment from the mayor thanking everybody for their work in trying to put the budget together. Mr. Petronio, I'm sorry, under agenda item number 2, FY 2020 budget, Mr. Petronio discussed the Plymouth County CARES Act funding and the potential for reimbursements from the county for that money. Moving along. Mr. Petronio indicated he would continue to work on the budget and ask for any and all invoices to be submitted for payment so that he could start to close things out and know what we had to work with. After speaking with the mayor and the superintendent and the CFO, Mr. Petronio will reach out to transportation vendors again to discuss their billings. Let's see. And then there was some question and comment from the members of the committee as well as the mayor. The mayor had asked if we were expecting to have the laptops that we had loaned out to be returned. We also discussed the purchase of more laptops. Hopefully we'll be able to get reimbursement through the CARES Act money through the county as we're anticipating a greater need for laptops for this coming fall. Agenda item number 3, FY 2021 budget. Again, we just reiterated at that time, we still hadn't received any information. We're continuing to work together on the budget that would be presented at the June 2nd meeting. We had hoped that maybe we'd have some information before June 2nd at that time. Under new business, the superintendent brought forward the not closing of North Middle School and to keep it open and to have 6th grade in that building for this coming year. And that would help with social distancing and also with the financial situation. It was highly unlikely that we would be able to move forward with the some $10 million in renovations that we're hoping to do to that building. So for the foreseeable future, since that's unlikely, it made sense to go ahead and reopen it and take advantage of the additional space, and also was able to reduce transportation costs by not having to provide as many buses to take the kids from the neighborhood there all over the city to different schools. The committee did vote in favor of that, and so North Middle School will now have sixth grade going into it this year. There was a question and comment from the members of the committee. And the mayor had filled us in that they had actually set up north to be overflow for COVID patients, but we were happy, or he was happy, that we never actually had to utilize that space. The meeting was adjourned at 6:42 p.m. And that is all I have.
Mr.
Thank
Vice
you.
Chairman, thank you for that detailed summary. Any questions from the school committee for the Vice Chairman on B, C, and D under consent agenda, agenda item number 2? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion for B, C, and D, please.
Motion to approve items B, C, and D.
Second,
Motion made by Mrs. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Roll call vote. The chair says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino,
Yes.
Ms. Azak, Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Menoncello,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
yes,
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
yes,
It passes the affirmative consent agenda B, C, D. We will now go on to agenda item number 3, which is communications. And I'm not aware of any communications. Mr. Superintendent, is that accurate?
That's accurate, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We will then go on to agenda 4, which again is the report of the superintendent of schools. Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, we want to start with recognitions. I want to thank the Brockton area chapter of the NAACP. I want to welcome Leona Martin and her education committee. We're great partners with the Brockton Public Schools. And Leona in the NAACP Education Committee was able to work with the Brockton Public Library Foundation and Paul Engel they got a $10,000 grant. They purchased 1,500 books, children's books for the children of Brockton. Leona got her team together and was able to use through volunteers, and we were able to do some school department volunteers, and they were able to give out all of these books on Thursday, June 4th. And they went to the 10 grab and go locations, and this was a lot of work. Leona, she spent a lot of time organizing this with her team, and Paul putting, the books together, boxing them up so they were ready to go by age group, and then brought out to the 10 locations, and they did a fantastic job. A great thing for our students and families. So Leona is going to introduce her team and say a few words. And again, we really appreciate the effort and what you did for the Brockton students. And these were for, again, students throughout the city, whether they went to Brockton Public Schools or not, but if they're residents of the city of Brockton, whether they attend a charter school or a private school, they were welcome to come, obviously, as they are welcome to come get our lunches and food program. They were welcome for books as well. So thank you, Leona, for being here, and everybody else. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. So first and foremost, I just wanted to thank you, Mike, because you were great to work with, because there were several logistics that we needed to make this go on without a hitch. And you had your folks right there to help and assist us all the way. So thank you for that. And then Paul was wonderful too. Paul, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, Paul, he was phenomenal to work with as well. So, while I had a team getting these books out and, just being there for the families, you guys helped us make it happen. And then just to introduce my committee, so I've got some of them on here. Karima Lewis is here. Steve Thomasy couldn't make it. Mary Waldron is here. Jessie could not make it. She's another member on our team. And then the volunteers, I was calling people like crazy to get them to help us out. And everyone that I called was just very happy to assist. It was Joshua Epps, Janet Trask, Janice Johnson Plumer, who I see here on the call, Miles Jackson, Melise Vega, and Linda Ross. So those were some of the volunteers that assisted us. And, oh, and I can't forget, Mike, to thank, I didn't know who they were, but I want to publicly thank those that were from your team that helped us. Because there were a few schools that we weren't able to cover, because I wanted to get at least 2 people per site. And for those schools that we weren't able to cover, thank you for getting some of the members of your team to assist us. So, I got to tell you, it was just so awesome to see the looks on the faces of the families as they picked up their lunch and books, the smiles and just the gratitude that people shared and expressed to us as we were giving out the books. It just warmed my heart. And I heard that from all of the team members and volunteers who were at the different schools. It was just great to see how happy people were to get those. And then also I wanted to thank Mary, in addition to this, because Mary actually donated, I think, 20 books to the Unknown School. And it was great because they were more diverse in nature. So she was able to give those books to the Unknown, which is great. And one of the things I want to do, and I'm sure we can do this again, but somebody called me actually and said, what about giving out audiobooks for those children who may just need to listen as opposed to read for whatever the reason, which I thought was a great idea. So I think I'm going to be attached to Paul at the hip moving forward.
Likewise,
so we can
Leona.
work together and do some more things. We did a really good job together. Wouldn't you say, Paul?
Absolutely. And if I could, I would like to say that there's been a GoFundMe page created by the foundation to raise money to continue this party.
Yeah.
And if I get the permission to, I could share that in the text box right here. If that's okay. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, great.
So
And then just one more thing. I know Mary real quickly wanted to just mention a foundation that she's worked with that can assist us as well with getting additional books that we could donate.
Well, thank you, Leona and Paul. Thank you I just copied the link to that very nature. Many of you have known that the Just Checking In Fund in my husband's memory has really gone to a lot of the different Brockton projects, whether it's scholarships for the high school students or whether it's been a track team or whatever it is. So being I think I've been part of the NAACP Brockton chapter for about 10, 12 years, if not longer. But this particular effort really brought a lot of emotion, but as well as some action items in particular that having the chance to work side by side with Karima, that it was really helpful. We had some great conversations, but you notice my background is in fact the Hidden Figures. And those were the books. I can't really see it here, but they're hardcover books. I will be donating those not only to the library, but Brockton Public Schools, but also the commitment of the Just Checking In Fund to support with $100 and well with my personal $100 toward the purchase of books. But my caveat is in fact that we are able to diversify the books for our community and be reflective of those. And it's a small action item, but it's one that we need to continue to work on and look for all of you.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. So that's it for me. But again, it was great. It was fun. And I look forward to doing more things like this with the community.
And I also want to thank the volunteers that we had with the school department: Janice Johnson-Pluma, Tobias Cowens, Principal Jose Duat, Principal Mary Beth O'Brien, Principal Brian Rogan, Principal Carol McGrath, and Principal Stephen Shaw all took part and volunteered. So we want to thank them. But I also want to thank President Phyllis Ellis for her partnership. About a month and a half ago, I was invited to the NAACP meeting, and we started remote learning, and Phyllis and Leona and the association came in and said, you know, what can we do to help with laptop distribution or help get students engaged. So Leona has worked, and her team and Phyllis have worked with Sharon Wolder, and really for families that we were having a real hard time reaching, our principals, our adjustment counselors, Leona and her team, and they jumped on the phone and really helped reach out to families to help them get engaged, as you know, and find out, was it an issue with lack of internet access or not having enough of devices in the home. So I really want to say thank you for how much they have supported the Brockton Public Schools and how much they did for us during this most difficult time. And it was all about the kids, and it always is. So we really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you know, I just wanted to share a quick story. So as we were making those phone calls to the families, there was one family that I was able to reach, and she said, you know, we don't go to pick up lunches, but my fifth grade son loves to read. So I said, well, gee, it's funny you should mention that, because we're going to be giving out some books. So I actually made a special effort to take some books over to their house for her son. And he was delighted, not only to see me, but just to get like 2 or 3 books that I gave him. You would have thought I gave him money. The smile on his face. So, you know, again, I just say that to say families are just very appreciative, or were very appreciative of our efforts in giving those books out. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
The superintendent, if I could, I just want to thank Leona and of course the Brockton chapter, the NAACP, and Mary Waldron and Just Checking In Foundation, and Paul. I mean, Paul and the Library Foundation. I mean, this is what Brockton's about, coming together to make a difference. And in this case, it's helping the lives of young boys and girls in our community. And that's it. It's our community. So kudos to everybody. This isn't a one-off. We need to continue this. This is great momentum. I know when I had a conversation with Paul recently, he had some books that he donated to the veterans, and that makes a difference. And to some of the seniors, the Council on Aging. So Leona, thank you for what you're doing, your team.
You're welcome.
And really, this is wonderful. And let's keep going. All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So next I want to recognize American Student Assistance. I know Rosemary Arthur is with us, and Karen will come on and introduce the others with us from ASA. But ASA has been a longstanding partner with the Brockton Public Schools. They have on-site offices at Brockton High. They offer their staff support of our students, and they work with them on their educational and career endeavors. They do a lot with coaching. They do a lot with internships, training, job training, assistant with college admissions, assistance with applying for scholarships. So really, really appreciate all they do for the Brockton Public Schools and for our students. Throughout this pandemic, they were awarded us an emergency meals grant in the amount of $10,000. And this was obviously for food, for food during this most difficult time. And also they awarded us a grant of $12,000 to purchase 30 laptops for Brockton High School students. So as you know, we were limited on the amount of laptops we were able to give out to our families. And this $12,000 donation and the 30 laptops came in really big during this very difficult time. So I want to thank the ASA for being here, and I'll let Karen take the lead and introduce everybody because I don't want to forget anybody. But I really appreciate their partnership, their support, and their generosity to the Brockton Public Schools. Thank you so much.
Sure, yes. I want to thank Rose Arthur. She's been a real gem in directing us to these grant opportunities as one of the partners that ASA has across the state. And they actually were able to help us fund 35 laptops. And I was especially pleased. Most recently, I spoke with Rose, and she said, well, we'll also purchase Microsoft Office software to be uploaded to those laptops. So that's going to be a great boon to those 35 students. That's another like $3,000. That's in addition to the $12,000 grant. So thank you. And yeah, we just want to say we just are humbled and grateful for your continued support and partnership. So we have Rose Arthur with us this evening. We have Leisha Sly that I see, Lily Arnellis, and Elisa Wilk is with us, I believe also. Am I missing anybody? Trying to think, can't see everybody on one page. Am I missing anybody, Rose?
Nope, I think everybody is here, and I'm gonna let Elisa Wilkie, whose brainchild it was, to come up with the grant ideas,
Nice.
to lead off on our behalf of ASA.
Great,
Sure.
thank you.
So, thank you for inviting us. You know, Leona's a tough act to follow there with that initiative. You know, I'm responsible for innovation and grant making and outcomes measurement at ASA, and Lily is part of my team with the grant making, and it's something that we love doing. I mean, I'm not going to speak for Lily, but we just love doing the grant making and helping the community. And we're super proud of the work that both Alicia and Rose do in the schools. It's already been said that Brockton has been a huge partner to us over the years. We value that work, that one-on-one work with the students every day. And so in our response, again, to the pandemic, initially it was about food security. And so we did a number of those grants. We, you know, worked with our ASA staff to reach out to partner schools and say, do you have, you know, concerns related to those students that are going to be at home? And so that was the first round of grants that we did. And then over the course of doing that, we had other opportunities, and this one happened to come up. And it was, you know, a no-brainer that we would close the gap on the one-to-one technology. And so we're very happy to do it. And, you know, I would encourage this team to stay in touch with Leisha and Rose and bring those opportunities to Lily and I when they arise. Because like I said, we're really happy to do it and support the students.
Nice, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I also want to recognize someone on our team, Tom Burke, who's our food service director for Chartwells. They're great partners with us as well. And they worked with us, with me to write the grant application to basically purchase a little under $3,000 in emergency shelf-stable meals that was going to go to help us in the case anyone on the food service staff might test positive for COVID-19 and they might need to shut down for a day or two to do a deep cleaning. And so if that were to happen, we have that emergency meal supply so that we can keep the food distribution going. We don't have to stop. So thank you. That's a wonderful stopgap measure that we're able to put in place. And we just want to say thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Nice job.
Mayor, if I could, Mayor, would it be all right if I comment?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Okay,
sorry. I was
great.
trying to
Nope.
multitask with my 3 kids. I apologize.
We all understand, no problem. So I just wanted to mention and thank you guys, the ASA, for this. I mean, really, when the decision to shut down first happened, you know, the first conversation, you know, the mayor and the superintendent and I had was, okay, what about the kids that rely on us for meals, right? They don't eat except from what they eat at school. And what are we going to do about that to make sure that those children still eat? And, you know, so we had that plan in place. And then, God forbid, a food service worker were to get COVID, we have you supporting our backup plan on that to make sure that those meals are still available. And that's so vital. We have so many kids, unfortunately, that rely on the schools in order to make sure that they're getting the meals that they need. So I would appreciate that. And once we had the food part of it worked out, then of course it's how we're going to provide educational opportunities, you know, for nearly 17,000 kids at home. And many of them may not have laptops, many of them may not have internet. And so a lot of work was done on that. And we appreciate your support on this from ASA. everybody who was involved, because these are, some really vital things that we had to have in place and have support on to be able to keep things going as best we could, once we had to close. So anyway, I just wanted to comment on that. These were two very important things that were some of the immediate discussions when we first closed down, and having the support from ASA on this really, it makes a big difference, and we really appreciate it.
Yes, it's great. Yes. And, we need to recognize some of our internal staff. Dan Vigent, our IT director, he's going to use his same protocol that he used for the laptop distribution to distribute these 35 laptops to the students at Brockton High School. So we're grateful to him and his team as well to help us with that process. And to Rose, we always put our heads together to get these things done. So Rose, thank you. And we're going to keep working at it.
Nice job.
Any other questions from the members of the school committee? I would just want to personally thank as well. I mean, this is just, again, it's an example of how Brockton can come together, right, with our partners and our efforts in a collaborative manner. Again, the shared vision is to make sure that the boys and girls are taken care of. So thank you, as a mayor, but as a dad of 3 kids in the system. Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, did you have a comment as well?
No, I just wanted to thank them publicly. Great job. Job well done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional comments? Mr. Superintendent, I guess we can go on to the next agenda item. Again, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. So next is just this past Thursday, the 11th, was supposed to be our celebration of our retirees. Every year we do this for all retirees of the Brockton Public Schools, retirees in all the positions that we have. We had 56 retirees this year. Some of them retired earlier last year, but we always wait until June to celebrate them all. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that in person. We look forward to doing it sometime, maybe in the fall. But I just want to recognize, our 56 employees that are retiring, their long dedication to the children of the Brockton Public Schools, the work that they've done with the students and with their colleagues. And we look forward to recognizing them again in person when we can. But I just wanted to thank them. We're going to mail out the certificates that are signed by the school committee, the mayor, and myself. And again, I just wanted to recognize them, and we will we'll be able to honor them hopefully whenever we're allowed to come back together, and have celebrations like this where we can have a dinner. We'll definitely have that when we're able to do that. So I just wanted to thank all Brockton Public Schools retirees and make sure that they knew that we didn't forget that June 11th passed, but we will celebrate them when we're able to do so.
Superintendent, I'll just echo the same sentiments and wish everybody a happy retirement and a job well done, right? I mean, it's a career, it's a profession, it's a passion, it's a dedication, and we're very, very thankful for that. And just what Mike said is when we can, we will definitely recognize you in public. So just know that we greatly appreciate your professional endeavors to the Brockton Public Schools. Thank you.
Yeah, we wish them a happy and healthy and long retirement. So next we have, we do not have, Georgina is not with us this evening. So we'll go to the next agenda item, which is our remote learning update, which we've been given every week. Again, we're coming close to the end. The last day of school is next Wednesday, June 24th. So teachers are working with students to wrap up, make sure they're getting their work and getting their credit so we can get grades in. Next week, they'll be doing some fun activities for the 3 days, fun virtual learning activities with our students for next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But again, I'll say this, and I've said this a lot, I want to thank our teachers for how quickly they managed to switch over to a remote learning platform, which we were not set up for. I want to thank our principals. I want to thank our associate principals, our content leads, our coaches, our department heads, in our coordinators, because if it wasn't for everyone working together to shift the system to a full-time remote learning, again, something that we were not trained for, something that we were not set up for, and something that a district this size would pretty much take 2 years to get off the ground. So if it wasn't for the work for all the people I just mentioned, working together as a team to get this underway. And again, we know that we had students that weren't engaged, some that were somewhat engaged, and some that were totally engaged. And those were the students that we're going to be focusing on to work with this summer. And obviously, we'll do some things in the fall when we're able to come back to school and see how we can come back to school once we get some guidelines. We'll obviously be doing work to catch students up and making sure that we're supporting them every way we can. We'll be reaching out to parents, principals will be reaching out to parents to see what we can to offer the summer programs that we have, but also talk to them about their other options. If they have concerns about their student moving to the next grade, they'll be able to talk that over with the principal. And again, we're going to do everything we can to support our students, because as we said, in the school committee has backed this up, and the mayor 100%, no student in the Brockton Public Schools was going to fail or get no credit when we were closed. That was not going to happen. And if a student wasn't working or having trouble being engaged, we were going to put things in place to make sure we supported them. We'll do that through the summer into the fall, but no student was going to fail in the Brockton Public Schools because of a pandemic. So I want to thank the school committee for their support. And I want to thank, again, all the team that worked together, the executive team, and everybody else that worked together to put this all in place. And Kim Gibson's with us. So again, it took a lot, and it took a lot of people to do this, and I really appreciate the efforts. Next, we have the summer food program. We did get approved to continue our 10 grab-and-go locations. That will continue throughout the entire summer. We are going to, we'll have new times. We're going to go a little bit earlier in the day. The summer months get hot, so we're going to serve a little bit earlier in the day, breakfast and lunch. We'll get that announcement out by the end of this week of what times we'll be switching over to once we go to the summer hours, but it will be the same duration of time where people can come and obviously pick out meals, and there will be definitely at the same 10 grab-and-go locations. So and that's going to be, again, we will not skip a beat. That will, the last day of school, and the 10 grab-and-go lunch locations will continue on 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And again, we will get the exact times out so people know that. We'll text that out, and we'll make a phone call later this week so families know when we switch over to the summer schedule. I don't know if Aldo, you wanted anything you needed to add about the summer lunch and breakfast program.
No, I think you got it all there, Mike. Just with the 4th of July weekend coming up, we'll be closed Friday, but we'll double or triple up on the meals on Wednesday and Thursday, so that everyone has enough meals to last them through the weekend. So that'll be, very close now. We're almost at the end of June, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
And next, I'm going to introduce Soraya DeBarros, who is our Director of Community Schools. She was on a call today with the Y. I was unable to make that call. The mayor and I have a weekly call with the Y to talk about summer programs. Soraya was able to do that call today for me. Soraya is with us also. Sharon Wolder and June Saber McGuire have been working with a team of several people to put and talk about summer programs and what they're going to look like. Most of them virtual, but we are going to do some in-person summer programs around a social and emotional support. And I'll let Soraya talk about her meeting today. And we want to thank the Y for their support. And I want to thank the summer school team for working together to make sure we have solid summer programs in place, even though most of them obviously have to be virtual. But it's important that the students get the support that they need during the summer. So thank you, Soraya, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, everyone, for having me. It's always a pleasure to come and talk about what we have been doing. Today, we had a meeting with the Y, and we have been working constantly with the Y for the past at least 5-6 weeks working and meeting almost every week to talk about our summer programs. As I had said before, about 10 days ago, we sent out letters to all the summer staff, letting them know that we would not be running 13 of our summer programs. So we understand that that has a huge impact on our families, our students, our staff. So that was a very hard decision that we had to make, and we made it based on the guidelines that we received from the state. However, we have 6 programs that we will be running, and we'll be running them in partnership with the Y. And I'll talk about another partner that we have. So with the Y, we have the Power Scholars. We're going to do 2 models. We're doing the elementary model and the middle school model. And we're going to be using the curriculum, which is the Bell curriculum. So it's a virtual program that we can use as well. And it's building educational leaders for life. So again, it's a curriculum. It's collaborative summer learning, enrichment for students, and it should be very interesting for the students. So they will be learning, but they will be engaged in enrichment activities as well. We also have the 3rd program with the Y, which is the Leaders Program, and that program is for students who are at risk. So those are students entering the high school, and we want to make sure that they learn lessons, they learn how to be good leaders in our world, so that they make a positive transition toward high school. So we will promote academic achievement and develop their leadership capacity. So that's the Y Leaders program. We also have 2 summer programs, which are the academic programs. So one for the middle school and one for the high school. And our intent is to provide students grades 6 through 12 the opportunity to earn credit for courses they did not pass during the school year. So those are the 2 summer programs that we'll be doing for middle school and high school. And the second partnership that we have, I told you the first one was the Y. We have 3 programs with them. The second partnership is with Sabura, with Dr. Amina Pilgrim and Lenny Montero. And we have been working together for the past year in this capacity. And Sabura stands for, I wrote it down, Students Ambassadors Bonded Under Recreation and Achievement. So SABURA. And what they do, they focus on the social emotional part of the student. They focus on the academics, but they also focus on the social emotional aspect. And I think more than ever, we need that to be put into our program. So we're working with all of them. And again, working in partnerships with everyone that we can work with. For the Power Scholars and the other programs that we have, we will be sending weekly snack boxes to our students. So this way, they have been working remotely for 3 months now. This way they have to take a break. When they take a break, they will have a snack that they will take. Part of the Power Scholars program, they will be taking a pre and a post test. That's part of the program. So we have to show their growth during this time. And what we're thinking as well is that if they take the pre-test, they will get a gift in the mail. If they take the post-test, they will get a gift, because we have to show the growth, the data. So we're trying to make these programs fun. We will be working with the bilingual advocates, the bilingual facilitators, to make sure that parents get a personal phone call. We know how much of a difference that makes. Michelle Bolton will be sending text messages, emails, and links so that parents can apply online, register online. Of course, everything is free, but we want to make sure that people who speak the parents' languages will be able to pick up the phone and make that personal phone call. So we're expecting to have a lot of students. When it comes to computers, we have reached out to Dr. Cobbs and to Tobias Cowens, and we're okay with computers. And we have reached out as well to all the principals, making sure that they give us a list of the students that they want us to work with, that they recommend that we work with. Of course, we're reaching out to students that worked with us in the past through Summer Scholars. So there's a lot of work going on. But one thing that we keep on saying, and I think I heard it over and over and over tonight, is 1, we're working in partnership with as many people as possible. And 2, everyone is doing their due diligence to make sure that we provide the best programs that we can provide in the circumstances that we're living in. And of course, all of this is new to all of us. So we're putting all our brains together and trying to do the best that we can. And again, like I said, we're not running 13 programs. So that has a huge effect, and it will affect a lot of our families and our staff. But at the same time, we're grateful for the opportunity to do this and do it remotely. So hopefully when I come back, I'll have great news of showing how well it worked out. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, Soraya.
You're welcome.
And then Sharon, myself, the mentors, the adjustment counselors are working on some very small in-person programs to run at our lunch locations, obviously following the guidelines of 10 students or less with 1 or 2 staff members. Those students we're focusing on and getting those names from principals and our adjustment counselors that really need the extra support during the summer, and we're in the process of setting that up now, and that would run in early July through the middle of August, and again, this would all be done outside, located at some of the grab-and-go locations. So there's obviously lunch for students, but again, we've still got a lot of work to do to get that program set up, to make sure the numbers are right, to make sure the support is there. And all this, Aldo is going to be charging back towards for the COVID money from the county, because this all ties in with us having to close down, and because of our closing, these students need this extra support. So Aldo is going to try to ask the county to pick up the expense of the summer programs. So I want to thank Sharon, I want to thank Soraya, and I want to thank the summer school team that works together every Friday and really is working hard to start to put all these programs together. Programs, again, we have never done virtually, but they've worked quickly, effectively, and so we have these summer programs up and running. So I want to thank everybody for that. And if nobody has any questions, or if they do, I'll move on to the next item. Alrighty, so I am going to try to do this for the first time. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully it works. And I'll let you know if. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is. I want to go over, and again, I'll do this quickly. This is our blueprint for reopening schools. And I want to go over this presentation. And again, I'll do it quickly. The district design team is made up of 30 members of the school district that are, teachers, administrators, guidance counselors, adjustment counselors. Kim Gibson is on that. Executive team members are on that. Recently, we added the all principals and several other members to work, and we turned the district design team into the reopening committee. So I'm going to do this presentation quickly, as you can see what our focus is going to be as we plan to reopen. And just so everybody knows, right now we're planning this, and we do not have guidelines yet from the Department of Education. We hope to get them either this week or next week, and obviously that will speed up the work that we need to do. So we have to take a very agile planning approach. It's got to be logical, consistent, and equitable. We need to develop the plans. We need to validate the plans. We need to monitor those plans and modify those plans as needed, because obviously this is an ever-moving target. So we have 5 action working groups, 5 action areas. We have the instructional core, social, emotional needs, operations, resources, communication, and stakeholders. Those are the 5 working groups. The instructional core, that covers professional development, what a teacher schedule could look like next year, what a student schedule could look like next year, what is the technology we're going to need to support if we end up with a hybrid model, or for some reason we have to close down again and switch to full remote learning. And obviously I just mentioned the hybrid model. So that's the first working group. Second working group is social and emotional supports. Obviously, this is very important. Trauma sensitive training, social skills and interactions with students, student to student, staff to students, staff with staff. We need to make sure we have a compassionate reentry plan, and we have to focus on the adult-child interactions. Again, this part was obviously important when we were just talking about COVID-19, but obviously with the racism and the murder of George Floyd and the protests that follow, we need to also, this group is also working on professional development opportunities, forums for students, how students are going to come back to school, how we're going to have these open and honest dialogue, how we all need to look in the mirror and make sure that our school system is inclusive, and we're having these tough conversations so we can all do better for our students of color and also our staff of color. And we really need, and that's going to be also a major focus of the social and emotional support group. Number 3 is operations. That has to do with facilities, maintenance and cleaning of our facilities. Transportation, what is that going to look like in September? And also food service is a part of this. 4 is resources. Some of these, a lot of these groups do have interchanging parts, and people are going to be working cross groups. Resources, the budget, what the staff needs for supports, student supports, the time, what is the schedule going to look like? What kind of resources can we put in these different areas, and also what we need to do to put into facilities as well. And then communication and stakeholders, this is very important. This is a team of administrators, teachers, support staff. All 7 union presidents are on this team. We'll be adding students to this team, parents, and school committee members will also join this team. Jess Hodges is with this team, myself, the other, again, all union presidents are with us. There'll be 2 school committee members with us, and also we'll add students and parents. This is an important group. How we communicate our planning, how we clearly communicate that to our families, and what September is going to look like. And then that's where it's the communication and stakeholders. We have to make sure we engage all of our stakeholders so everybody knows what's going on and knows the planning process, so it's open, transparent, and you know, we have everybody represented. So our timeline, we started working in May, talking about it with the district design team, and then in June we have formed the 5 working groups. Now we're rounding out, filling out those groups. Right now, we're currently almost 70 people working in these 5 groups. And obviously, like I just said, we will be adding students, parents, and school committee members. I'm also going to talk to the mayor, and also would like to have a couple of city council members join the stakeholders team. We have to validate and refine the plans through later in June into July, and then establish our priorities and have an initial draft. A lot of that's going to be driven by what the guidelines we're going to get from the Department of Education and also the governor. And then we got to create detailed action steps in late July and August, how we're going to put these plans in place. We have to remain flexible. We have to make sure we track and monitor the progress of these plans. And we have to communicate criteria, how we're going to open schools. And if for some reason the pandemic hits again at some point during flu season and we're forced to close again, we have to have a clear and decisive closing plan so everybody knows what's going on, and we're able to switch to remote learning quickly and much more robust. Again, if we have to close next year, it would be a much more robust system. And there's a lot that goes into this, but I want to thank everybody that's working on this team and their support. There's a lot of work we have to do in a very short window of time, but I really appreciate everybody's efforts. And now I'm going to try to get out of this and and have my dog stop barking. All right, so I'm back, so I can entertain any questions, and but that's it for my reopening blueprint presentation.
Mr. Superintendent, you did an excellent job. We're very proud of you. Very good job. We had full faith and confidence in you, Mike. Any questions for the superintendent from anybody on the school committee relative to what was just discussed? Seeing none, we'll move on then. Next matter is E, items to refer to subcommittee. I'm not aware of any. Is that correct?
I just have one. If we can, I can work with Mr. DiAugustino. We sent out the 2020, 2021 handbooks. We do not need a vote on that tonight, but I would like to entertain any questions the school committee might have in a policy subcommittee meeting. So we can set that up for next week, because we would like to try, go over them in the subcommittee meeting, get approval in the subcommittee meeting, so we can start with the translations of those books and also schedule the printing. Again, we're a little bit behind, obviously, because of the closing, but also I want to talk to the school committee in a policy subcommittee, because we're going to probably have to have an addendum to the to our handbooks once the guidance comes out from the Department of Education. Things need to be in there about, if they're going to make students wear masks, temperature taking, PPE equipment, all those kind of things, that remote learning. So there's a lot of things that we'll have to do an addendum to our handbook, which we'll work with our attorneys on, so parents can get that ahead of time in September. So this could be, there might be a few more policy subcommittee meetings to talk about this summer, especially the addendum to the handbooks that will be related to the pandemic. But if we can have a policy subcommittee meeting next week to discuss the current handbooks that are in draft form that was sent to you on Friday by Melinda. But I can work with Mr. DiAugustino to schedule that for a time next week.
Yeah, the only thing on that, Mr. Superintendent, is city council budget hearings are next week.
Yes.
Tuesday and Wednesday are the actual hearings, and then Thursday will be the ratification. So just bring that to your attention.
Is there a meeting Monday of city council or no?
There's a city council meeting on Monday as well.
All right. Okay, we can work on something.
Mike.
If it has to be the following week, we could do that as well.
Yeah, you and I can talk, this week, and we'll I got a few other things that, we've talked about scheduling too. So we'll go over everything, including and make sure that we consider the budget hearings in our discussions. Thank you, Mayor, for pointing that out. 'Cause
Thank you, everybody.
I think we go Wednesday, right? Next week?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe it. I haven't seen the final version, but I believe so.
Okay.
So we'll go on to section 5 of the agenda, which is unfinished business. Student Opportunity Act SOA 3-year district plan.
Yep. So another update on that. We received an email on Friday, and the 3-year district plan was supposed to be due by this Friday, the 19th. We were not going to, so everybody knows, we were not going to submit that plan because we don't have any of the Student Opportunity Act money. So I didn't see fit that we would be submitting a plan for the money that we don't have. But they actually saved me, because to submit a plan without the money is ridiculous. So we weren't going to submit that plan, and we were told by Commissioner Riley that the dates were very soft dates. He's been very flexible about this, and now the plan is not due until Friday, August 14th. So, and then between now and Friday, August 14th, we'll see if they uphold any of the Student Opportunity Act money. Because, it's kind of hard to submit a plan for the Student Opportunity Act when the money doesn't come with it. So we'll see how that goes over the next month. So I'll keep you posted. But that date has been moved to August, Friday, August 14th. And then finally, for me, I just wanted to go over the graduation dates so everybody knows. So basically, I'll go over the virtual graduation date is on Saturday, June 27th, and at 4 o'clock. And I want to thank Jess. I want to thank the principals and deans, and I want to thank BCA for their hard work on putting this together. The Huntington School Therapeutic Day School will be at 4 p.m. virtually on that Saturday, the 27th. The Champion High School and the Frederick Douglass Academy will be at 5 p.m. on that Saturday, and Brockton High School's virtual graduation will be aired at 6 p.m. And I'm sure, and that's on that Saturday, and BCA will also be obviously playing those several times over after the first time it's aired. So we want to again thank BCA for their partnership and really helping us out with this virtual graduation. So now the physical graduations that we have planned, I have the dates and times for those. Those will take place again with guidelines permitting. the graduation dates for Brockton High School at Marciano Stadium. And for Friday, July 24th, the Huntington, the Champion High School, and the Frederick Douglass Academy will be at 5 p.m. in the stadium, again, on Friday, July 24th. And then on Saturday, July 25th, at 10 a.m. will be the yellow building. At 1 p.m. will be the green building. Again, this is on Saturday, July 25th. Yellow at 10 a.m., green at 1 p.m. And then the Edison Academy would be at 3 p.m. And that could, we'll be waiting on Edison Academy. They might need the Sunday time as well. But right now, Dr. Cobbs will let us know how many graduates he has. And then, so the Edison on that Saturday would be at 3 p.m. And then on Sunday, July 26th, at 10 a.m. would be the Red House. At 1 p.m. would be the Azure House. And again, if needed, the second Edison graduation would be at 3 p.m. on that Sunday, July 26th. Dr. Murray, Principal Burns, Dr. Cobbs, Jay Lanner, they will make their calls to the parents to get them information, make sure that they're clear on all the times. For the, again, these are the in-person graduations. And again, we met Dr. Herman up at the stadium, and he approved this. And again, I want to be clear, this was 2 tickets per family. And that was part of the stipulation to approve these in-person graduations, that there would be 2 tickets per family. And I know people need a lot more than that. And again, if we were in normal times, we would be able to fill that stadium with 15,000 people like we usually do. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that. So we're under strict guidelines of obviously 2 tickets per family. And we'll get all that detailed information out. The good news is in Brockton Cable Access will be running these graduations as well. I'm pretty sure they can live stream them. We'll talk to Mike Simmons about that. We'll get that information out there. And again, I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Dr. Herman, the Board of Health, and I want to thank the school committee. Because again, this has been a long planning process. That's going to be a very long weekend, but worth every second of it for a graduation that our kids deserve. And this has been something that we have been talking about for a long time, but it's always been the best interest of our kids and get them a graduation that they deserve. And again, I think it's great for the city of Brockton. I want to thank the mayor and the Board of Health for their support, and also the school committee. So again, we'll make sure that this information's on our website. We'll make sure that the principals make the call. We'll send out text messages for parents, so everybody gets plenty of information. Again, and we're still about a month and a half away from the physical graduation. So, and I think, Mr. Mayor, that is it for me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you. We appreciate it. New business, which is agenda item 6, which is the renewal of the Chartwell's food service contract extension, and action is required on that. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the renewal of the Chartwell's food service contract extension as presented to the Finance Subcommittee.
Second.
There's a motion made by Mr. D'Agostino, is seconded by Mr. Sullivan. The Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak. Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Minicello.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
All in the affirmative, it passes. Thank you very much, school committee members. We'll go on to the next matter, which is the approval of the BPS Parent Student Handbook 2020-2021, and action is required on that.
Yeah, I thought we were, Mike.
That's getting referred to
Yeah,
the,
that's getting referred to policy, so thank
we
you.
just have to take a formal vote to refer it to policy.
Perfect, thank you.
I entertain a motion on that.
Motion to refer to policy committee.
Second.
Is this a second? Motion made by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. The chair says yes. The vice chair,
Yes.
Ms. Azak is absent. Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Minicello,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you. It's affirmative and it's sent to the subcommittee. We do not have any executive session tonight scheduled, so we can move on. Number 8 is adjournment, unless there's any.
1 second. I thought we did have an executive session item for the evening. Was I mistaken? Mike
Do we have one tonight?
Melinda?
or Melinda? Yeah.
One tonight.
We do
What's
have
that?
one.
That's for the superintendent of schools. We have to go into executive session. Mr. Giagostino has that.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, okay, great. So we will be going into executive session. We will not be coming back into formal school committee session. We will not entertain a motion to adjourn at this time under Robert's rules. We will take a quick break so that people that are not allowed to come into executive session will drop off. And when we do come back into executive session, it needs to be the members of the school committee and no other parties. We'll take a few minute recess. Thank you.